presence, Lord. Fill it with peace and fill it with love. Any of those shouldn't be brought into this meeting. We ask, Lord, that we leave those at the door and we're able to just have a calm and fruitful conversation to continue to improve the things in this county and just making sure that your love is being shown to all of the citizens and to all of the people that are here for this meeting, Lord. We ask that we just are able to be good listeners and good sharers today. We pray all of these things in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. And Rennick, you have our pledge?
Yeah, please rise. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary, roll call.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Here.
Supervisor House?
Here.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Here.
Supervisor Messick?
Here.
Thank you.
And so then we have our consent agenda. We're going to pull a couple of items. We are going to pull the item in regards to the YARC, which is 393. And we're going to pull the item in regards to the Mark Thomas Management Services, which was item 402. And those will both be presented later. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And is there any public comment on the consent agenda? No? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And so we will move to special presentations.
Special presentations, agenda item 405-2026, special presentation from the Sheriff's Department regarding flock cameras in Yuba County.
Good morning. My name is Nick Morzinski, and I'm the proud undersheriff of the Yuba County Sheriff's Office. By way of some background to this presentation I'm about to give you, a couple of board meetings back, there was some public comment made. The Yuba County Sheriff's Office has also received some public records Public Record Act requests regarding the use of ALPR's automated license plate readers and specifically of the flock system within our county. In doing my preparation for what flock is and how we use it here at the Sheriff's Office, I learned that flock particularly has been coming under quite a bit of scrutiny throughout the state of California and also throughout our nation with allegations that it's proving to be a surveillance state and a potential violation of some privacy rights of our people. I have no issue with those questions arising. In fact, I welcome it. I think it's a sign of a healthy democracy if we have our citizenry that is making sure that all of us in public service are doing the right thing for the right reasons. However, there have been in some jurisdictions, including our own, some vandalism that has occurred, some criminal acts that have occurred to these cameras and bringing them down and further into that movement. So my hope here today is to go over exactly what flock is, what an ALPR camera does, how we use it, and how it's been successful. And hopefully we can set some of these issues to rest, especially within the county and within our constituency. So if I could, at some point, get a presentation up.
The AI isn't allowing anything disparaging to flock to be presented.
There we go. Technology, huh? Wonderful. Ooh.
See, Tom, your point pretty correct.
There we go. Further proof that technology can be a friend and a foe, right? All right, so here we go. If I may. So what is ALPR? And that's essentially what the flock system is that we are using. And the definition is automatic license plate recognition, more commonly referred to as an automated license plate reader. It uses a camera system that has OCR, which is optical character recognition, and then computer software that in layman's terms takes a photograph, not a video, takes a photograph of a vehicle and then interprets numbers and characters within that photograph into digital data that can then be entered into different systems. That collected data is then compared to our California law enforcement telecommunications system, very well established, which is known as CLETS. And through CLETS, there's various subsystems like stolen vehicles, missing or unidentified person system, wanted person system, and supervised release files. That pertains to those who are on parole and potential absconding people from parole. So if we walk through this process, camera takes a picture of a plate. The plate is then converted into digital information, which then can be run against these CLETS systems. If a want is hit on that particular vehicle for whatever reason, whether it be a missing unidentified person, whether it be a stolen vehicle, whether it be a wanted person or any of those other systems, then an alert is immediately sent to our dispatch and to our law enforcement staff that are working that day. And then they can take appropriate action from that. It's worthy of note at this point that this is not just blindly enforced, if that's the best word for it. So the information comes in, it receives a potential hit. Dispatch a deputy to the area, or somebody may already be in the area, then requires that visual confirmation through that deputy to dispatch to then confirm through the CLETS system that truly is the vehicle that they're looking for and for the want that they're looking for it for. So there are some multiple levels in place. There is a human factor in this. It all has to be verified through our actual personnel. So that's kind of what ALPR is. And this technology is available through a whole bunch of different vendors out there, countless. I couldn't name them all. All of them have some different functions that are good and or bad, and features as well that we may or may not use. Why is this beneficial to us? So these cameras truly act as a force multiplier in criminal investigations, right? If a vehicle for lawful purpose has been entered into this nation or statewide, ultimately nationwide search to either locate that vehicle and or its occupants, having these cameras in place to notify our staff when a vehicle like that enters Yuba County is huge. These are people that we want to keep out of our area. These are vehicles that we could be recovering that were stolen within our community or neighboring communities. So that force multiplier action is very important. Also, I already mentioned it gives us real-time alerts on vehicles wanted with associated with wanted persons or the vehicle itself. And we also, I didn't touch on this, I should have a little bit better. It gives us real-time amber, silver, feather alerts. So if there is a kidnapping, an abduction, a missing person that has been entered into the amber system through all the lawful means, the moment that passes a camera within Yuba County, we are notified and we are able to take action upon that, which is huge. And as I hope to prove to you later on in this presentation, it really expedites our investigations, and what a phenomenal tool that it has been in solving crimes ranging from the lowest of I got a bicycle theft example for you of a kid's BMX bike, all the way up to homicides, kidnappings, robberies. It's just been an invaluable tool. So, 2022. After looking at the various vendors and platforms and going through the procurement process, we decided to contract with Flock Safety for our ALPR program. It's also worthy of note that prior to doing so, we held a town hall community meeting in this very room with representatives from Flock and our administration, and answered as best we could all of the questions that were posed at that time. A second one was held out in the Plumas Lake area as well. So we did seek public input on this. We had overwhelming public support. There were some concerns, and I believe those to be properly addressed. And we implemented the program. So what is flock? That's what they look like. That's what's out in our community right now. It's a solar-powered unit with the camera and software in that system there right below the solar panel. Currently, we have 33 of these ALPR cameras positioned on public roadways, facing public roadways throughout the unincorporated area of Yuba County. There are some additional flock products. There are 2 live feed cameras that are located at the Linda Fire Station number 3 in Plumas Lake. Those are funded through the clerk recorder's office and for the purpose of election security. There are also 3 live feed cameras that are funded through Trilla at the Grays Beach ingress, egress points, and also the parking area out there in that public portion of our community. Of note with that, Grays Beach has been notorious in years past for criminal activity, for some illegal dumping, especially stolen vehicles, and also criminal acts that are occurring in a very difficult place for our deputies to access and patrol on a regular basis. And I believe that to be the reason behind those particular live feed cameras. If you look at our transparency portal, which I will go over at a later point, it says we have 40 cameras. And if you're good at doing math right now, you've been up to 38. And that's why I also listed, we do have 2 additional cameras right now that are just not functioning down. So in total, there are 40 cameras, 33 of which are the ALPRs. So with the flock system, with the ALPR cameras, it links into our dispatch. It links into our mobile units that, our mobile computers, that our staff has out in the field. It can also link into cell phones, and you can set to alert the particular deputy, dispatch through any one of those means in the event that a hot list vehicle is hit within the county. So I wanted to walk the public and the board, of course, kind of through how it works and the search function of it. That's another functionality of flock. So every search can only be completed by one of our personnel, law enforcement staff, with an ID, and you have to listen to fence type, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Flock has recently upgraded their system to allow for a permanent audit trail. So I'll get to this in a moment. Right now, the data is accessible to me for 30 days. So I can do a search within 30 days of a particular camera of a particular vehicle that is moved through our county. The audit function is a little bit different. That goes now permanently and indefinitely. And that allows our administration to be able to run audits beyond that 30 days into years past to confirm that the searches were done in accordance with policy, law, and ethics. To the right of your screen, this was a screenshot I took actually as I was logging into the system. And basically, I'm saying that I'm using this strictly for law enforcement purposes. It even specifically lists out that in California, I cannot use it for any purpose of searching anything related to reproductive care and or immigration use. I will share with you right now that we do not share with the federal government in any way, shape, or form any of the data that we have. Also of note is the disclaimer that says unauthorized and improper use may lead to disciplinary action, criminal and or civil legal penalties. This is what I have to agree to prior to getting into the system itself. As I mentioned, the searchable data for a criminal investigation or any other investigation is limited to 30 days from the time that you were searching. We have to state that there is a law enforcement purpose behind that search. And I've already touched on the fact that the actual search history is available to administratively audit now indefinitely. So our deputies go in, they have a list of offense codes that is required to be plugged in prior to conducting a search. And these offense codes are in conjunction with NIBRS, which is the National Incident-Based Reporting System. So these are codes for particular crimes that expand beyond California. So a robbery is a robbery is a robbery. In California, that is under the Penal Code section of 211. However, that may be different in different states or different jurisdictions. Therefore, they boil it down just to the offense code of what the description of the crime is that they're searching for. In addition to that, we require our staff to put in the actual nexus between the vehicle and that particular crime that they're searching for. So say a deputy is investigating a illegal trash dump. They find that code within the dropdown for illegal trash dump. They select that, they select on the vehicle, and that vehicle can only fall into one of those 5 categories there. And that would be a suspect vehicle, a victim vehicle, missing or endangered person, investigative lead, or an agency assist. So those are the only options that they have. In addition to that, if there's a case number associated to the crime itself, deputies put that in. If there is just a what we refer to as a CAD call number, where it hasn't escalated to a criminal report yet, however, we received a call for service on it, again, that information is in as well. So I wanted to give you guys an example, but I don't want to violate anybody's privacy rights. So I looked out my window, I saw a license plate of one of our vehicles that was parked in our lot, and run an administrative search on that particular vehicle. And the photos that I'm going to show you that are up right now are the exact photos from our cameras within Yuba County that picked up that vehicle. This was back on the 4th of August. In this particular view, the camera is positioned at a point where it caught the rear license plate of the vehicle. I think it's very worthy of note that you cannot see the driver, the person, the occupants. I have no idea on the speeds. I'm hoping that my deputies are adhering to those speed laws while he's out there driving. But this is the information I get. This is a photograph of a vehicle with a license plate. Here's a couple other examples of that same vehicle and that search that I conducted. Again, I cannot see the driver. I cannot identify any attributes of that driver. I truly wish that that vehicle had gone through a car wash prior to me doing this presentation, but that's what it is. And again, these are still photographs capturing portions of the vehicle, which could provide a description, and also the license plate. So this is the exact information that I get when I run a search through our Flock system. So using that same search criteria, we can also search with partnering law enforcement agencies throughout the state of California. Again, I emphasize throughout the state of California. We do not share with any outside states. We do not share with the federal government, but law enforcement agencies up and down the state. It has been proven time and time again that a crime may be committed in one jurisdiction and the suspect may flee to another, or vice versa. And that's the reason behind the data sharing within that element of Flock. Additionally, we'll get into, excuse me, the transparency portal, but the list of those agencies that we share with is available on our website. So SB 34, we touched on it just a little bit. California has mandated that we cannot share with the federal government. We are in compliance with that. Flock is also in compliance with that. We have search filters. As I said, we have to go through those particular NIBRS codes in order to complete a search, and they cannot relate to any immigration or reproductive care. And now that there is permanent audit logs that allow us to go back even further in time, that's also within compliance. And not only the federal partners we are not sharing with, but also any other particular states. So nothing's going to Nevada, Oregon, or any other state within the union. So some do's and don'ts of what Flock does. And I think hopefully this addresses some of the misconceptions that are out there. So that still photo that's being taken of that car, that captures the make, model, and license plate of that vehicle. Again, this can only be searched for criminal investigations. Flock does keep a record of every search made permanently for audit purposes, and it allows for proactive oversight and compliance with the applicable laws. What it does not do, and this is something that I've been seeing pop up on social media lately, it is not continuously following somebody. There's no GPS aspect to it. This is capturing a photograph in a moment in time on a public roadway of a vehicle and not its occupants. There is no facial recognition component to any of the ALPR cameras or live feed cameras that we have through Flock. It just plain doesn't exist. It doesn't allow for any search of people, interestingly enough, pets, and or clothing. There's no way that I can type in a race, a gender, a name, anything like that to be able to pull up information on that particular person, race, or gender. It does not automatically connect to the DMV systems or contain any information about the driver or vehicle. That information is fed into CLETS regarding the actual license plate and any wants that are on that plate. And that information is then relayed directly to our dispatch center, and our dispatchers receive that information, not Flock. And again, it does not share with agencies outside of California, including the feds. So accountability. We talked about every time it's logged in and the search is conducted, we have to list those offense types, and we as an agency have also added that nexus component of how that vehicle is related to the particular crime that you're searching. The information is now saved in a permanent audit trail, and I had a meeting with Flock personnel yesterday, in fact, that this came about in December of 25. And one of the features that we are now implementing is a feature that they call Audit Assist, which is allowing my administrative staff to better audit the usage of the Flock system that we have. In doing so, it will automatically send our administrators flags on particular search activities by any users that we have in the program. It will identify abnormalities in that search activity for us to further pursue to see if everything is in compliance. And it'll flag searches that are done beyond the 30-day time frame that is required. And if there's a search that is conducted under multiple case numbers for a particular crime, that may be something that we want to look into as well to just ensure that we're getting compliance staff. To the right is our ALPR policy, which is posted online, which dictates the policy that we have surrounding the program. So the transparency portal, if you go to our website, scroll down, you can get into all of this information regarding our ALPR system. And just to highlight some of that, if you were to pull that up on our website, I did this 2 days ago, it will give the information on the data usage, how many cameras we have, how many vehicles were detected going by those cameras within the last 30 days, number of searches that were conducted by staff, and the number of hot list hits that occurred within that time frame. Additionally, it goes into the policy. You can access, as I mentioned before, our policy surrounding the ALPR program, and very difficult to see for all of us looking at a computer screen right now, but that last box, which I highlighted right here, is the public search audit. And any member of the public can click on that and see the searches that were conducted by our staff in a given time frame. So I did that. I did that a couple days ago. And this is the information that is provided. So if you look at the column A, where it says ID, if I were to expand that column out, that is a very long list of alphanumerics that really don't make a whole lot of sense to me when I'm looking at it. And what that is essentially a digital fingerprint of that particular search that was conducted. So using that information, we can correlate it to a particular search by a particular deputy for a particular reason. Under user, we have opted not to list the actual staff that is completing that search, and that's to keep investigative integrity into what types of investigations they're conducting when they're active. The third column under C is the date and time that that search was conducted. The column D is the network count of how many networks within the flock program that search was conducted through. The reason for the search, as you can see, especially in the highlighted ones, we've got suspect, we've got the missing endangered persons, we got investigative leads. And lastly, in column F, the offense type, those are those NIBRS compliant offense types that the deputies must list for the reason behind their search. So that's what's available to the public. And that has changed recently. And frankly, I have to thank Mr. Hammock, who did some public records requests, act requests, and had some questions about our transparency portal. After receiving those and pulling up the transparency portal itself myself, I noted that some of those reasons and offense types were missing. They were not showing up on the public transparency portal. So I got with my lieutenant who's running the program, and I said, what's the deal with this? We're supposed to be listing these. Why aren't they showing up? And he assured me that they're showing up on our side, and it just wasn't inputting to the transparency portal. Through some technical assistance with Flock and changing some of the settings that we have and what is released, we were able to rectify that problem. And if you were actually to log into the public transparency portal today and scroll back in time, you're going to come to a point where you can see exactly when we rectified that problem. And now there is a search reason and offense type listed for every case. So in that regard, I truly do thank Mr. Hammock for bringing that to our attention. So, okay, here's we went over everything that it does, how we search, what our accountability is. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Why is this cool? Why is this good? What does it do? So I looked through, and these are all going to be just from 2026. So within the last 8 months, 7 months, these are some success stories that I want to highlight for you guys where Flock has panned out. Mentioned before, we had an investigation into a stolen bicycle at a residence in the Edgewater area. They had surveillance footage of it. That surveillance footage from their home captured the vehicle, but it didn't show the plate. Gave a broad description of what it was, but we couldn't read the plate. The deputy that responded did a search through Flock for the crime of larceny, which is theft, for the vehicle associated as a suspect in that theft, and completed a search of our Flock cameras in the area to see if he could get some additional information. That revealed a plate number to that vehicle. He then takes that plate number, which is not given through Flock, contacts our dispatch, runs that plate through CLET's system through proper channels in our dispatch, finds out who that vehicle is registered to, which was local, drives directly to that house and sees the bike in the front yard and recovers it. And within moments, is able to return that bike to that owner. Happy little kid there. Again, this spans all gamuts. Again, this is a 2006 case. We had a homicide, unfortunately, that occurred in the Olivehurst area. We had a 911 caller that reported an altercation involving a firearm and subjects fleeing the scene in what they described as a maroon vehicle. Shortly thereafter, within moments, dispatch received a second call from a caller on Highway 70 that said there's a maroon sedan that is driving like crazy recklessly out on the roadway. The dispatcher correlated that information to the initial report, conducted a Flock search of that description of the vehicle, a maroon sedan, and was able to identify the vehicle, its license plate, and its registered owner. Within 6 minutes of that call for service, we now had a potential suspect identified in the homicide of a person in our county. That information led to other investigative tools, which were used to develop that suspect information even further, and that subject was arrested and is now sitting in Yuba County Jail for murder. There was multiple suspects, as you can see from this, that were also in the vehicle. Those suspects were ultimately identified as well. There was a vehicle that was associated with a second one of those suspects. Through proper lawful channels, we entered that vehicle into CLETS, into the wanted person system, flagging that vehicle as being associated with a homicide suspect. A couple days later, we get a hit at the San Ysidro border crossing where that vehicle, that suspect was attempting to flee to Mexico, and a flock hit occurred and proper authorities were notified and he was apprehended and is also now sitting in our jail. A third one, a robbery. And this was interesting. This was at a local retailer out in our county. We had a robbery that occurred with a knife. During the course of the investigation, it was found that the suspect removed his license plates from the car prior to committing the crime, probably in an attempt to avert any type of ALPR hits that we have. Did have a vehicle description. That information was entered into the flock system. And lo and behold, a couple hours earlier, the plates were on that same exact vehicle, and we were able to use that plate information to identify the registered owner, used to in additional investigative tools to determine that person as a suspect. That was done. We confirmed that the person driving that vehicle was our suspect. Again, that information was entered into NCIC. And again, that vehicle was picked up at another agency using the flock system, and that subject was apprehended and taken into custody for his crimes. This one to me is somewhat mind-boggling. And this is strictly, again, 2026. We have had this program in operation since 2022. If I had a lot more time, I could sit here and highlight the great work our staff has done using this tool, but I did limit it for time purposes just to 2026. So one of our drug narcotics investigators provided me with some statistics that have come through the use of the flock system. There's a quote from him on this particular slide where he says, "I've utilized flock as an investigative tool to identify vehicles associated with narcotics traffickers and have developed leads that resulted in the seizure of thousands of pounds of drugs." So using this system to invest as an investigative lead to those that are trafficking narcotics into our county, out of our county, or through our county, we have used this, and year to date, through the flock success, we have seized over a kilogram of cocaine, 115 pounds of methamphetamine, a half kilo of heroin, and 135,000 fentanyl tablets. And again, this is an investigative tool that is then used to develop further information in accordance with the law, in accordance with policy, and used to keep our community safe. So in conclusion, I hope that this presentation helps to dispel some inaccurate information that's been circulated on the internet and through our community. It simply is an investigative tool, and it's used in conjunction with countless other investigative tools that we have at our disposal. In our nation, in our state, and in our county, law enforcement has been entrusted with immense responsibilities and authority, which should not be taken lightly at all. We do not take that lightly. Proper checks and balances need to be in place to ensure that those responsibilities are carried out in accordance with the oath that every one of us took to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. The simple fact of the matter is, any one of those tools, any one of those authorities that are entrusted to my profession can be abused. It can. And we need these checks and balances to make sure that we prevent that and we identify it when it happens. But I think, gentlemen and lady, that it really just boils down to this. That is the integrity of the law enforcement personnel that this county has entrusted at the sheriff's office to do the right thing for the right reason at the right time. Can it be abused? Certain that it can. If and when it is, then we will uphold that oath that we have all taken, and we will rectify the problem. May end up in an arrest. It's worthy of noting that anytime a bad actor is found in my profession, they are always taken into custody by others in my profession that are doing the right thing. So I will open this up to any questions that you may have about Flock. I'll do my best to answer them. It is my understanding that we have a Flock representative on the Zoom call as well, if there's some technical questions that you may have, but I'm open.
Through the chair. In effect, you're happy with it.
I'm sorry, sir?
In effect, you're happy with the system.
I'm very happy with the system.
Okay.
And I'm happy with the system based on the results that we are seeing. In fact, the Sheriff Anderson got with the California Highway Patrol and pulled up some statistics for 2025 alone. The number of vehicle thefts in 2025 in Yuba County dropped 25%. And those stats are backed up by the California Highway Patrol.
Through the chair, just a couple questions to clarify some things. First of all, thank you for the presentation, giving us an understanding of how we use Flock in Yuba County. There's, like you said, there's a big social media push. I think it's a AI-driven algorithm that just catches on to keywords and gets people to focus on their phones instead of what's going on around them. But thank you again for clarifying all that. But the questions I have are, you spoke about misuse. So with your internal policies, you have proactive policies in place to monitor who is using it, and it has duplicative layers of oversight, correct? It's not just one person looking at it.
Correct.
So it's not okay. So I just want to make sure that we have those tools in place to make sure the misuse is identified if it is and rectified. And then I was just wondering, is there a way to give the public an opportunity or a phone number to call to where they can ask if their data has been accessed? So for the people who are like,
particular data has been accessed?
yeah. So
Yeah,
instead of just casting a wide net saying, hey, I need all of the data, it's like, hey, here's my license plate number. I'm willing to come in with my registration and prove it's me. Can I find out if my data has been accessed?
Well, therein lies the sticky wicket. If I'm conducting, or my staff is conducting a criminal investigation, let's say into some of this drug trafficking that we're talking about, and we then disclose to every person, again, the only way to search the information within Flock is if it is related to a criminal investigation. We may not be at a point where we can disclose that information and still continue with the integrity of the investigation. So to blanket it in a manner that you're speaking, that has been considered. However, I don't feel that we would see the same investigative success if we were to blanketly provide that information to anybody that asks.
Okay. I just think there should be some way, even if it's down the road, like say it's 2 years after the fact, somebody can go back, there be a period of time that could, so they can know that their privacy is being upheld, because the average person's not going to have their data pulled, and I mean, the only time I can see that really happening is somebody who doesn't have a license plate and they're going off a vehicle description. It might query their make and model, but
Correct.
Yeah.
That is a possibility of the program. That's definitely something we can explore, speak with county council regarding, and see if that is available to be disclosed and if it's prudent to disclose at that point.
And you touched on the finding the issue with the types of searches or the
Correct.
reasons. We had a public speaker a couple meetings back that brought up some changes in logs that were previously, he had documents before and after that they had changed. Does that factor into that, or is that the 30-day window where you can go back and pull from 30 days ago?
Yeah, we're working to address some of those concerns that we received from that particular speaker. I had the opportunity to speak with him and maybe get some exact information. I mentioned that digital fingerprint that's in that first column. If possible, that if there was something identified by a member of the public that they have a question about regarding any particular search that was conducted and is in that portal, I'd be happy to research that and provide an answer. Unfortunately, just broadly to say why are they showing up after the fact, that may be something that a flock representative could address. However, it'd be speculation on my part right now. And I do have a speculation on that. If a search, a crime was committed a couple days ago and new investigative leads show up regarding that particular crime and a search is then conducted, it may be associating back with that date. I just don't know that particular answer, Supervisor. So I would need a little bit more information to provide an educated response on that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Well, three things. A, you did a great presentation. I expected the stories about how it was successful, and you delivered on those. I really appreciated your epilogue comments about how any tool can be misused, because that's exactly the concern and danger, and so that you addressed that. That was good. And I already forgot the other nice thing I was going to say about you, but it was something nice.
Well, I'll give you something even better. So one of the other concerns was the previous audit logs that were conducted pursuant to our policy. In reviewing that, we found some shortcomings on our part and the documentation of such. And we have since gone through all of 2026. We have since gone through all of 2025. And we're going to continue back until the inception of our program to make sure that those are up to date, especially using the new platforms that Flock has provided to us to assist in that. So I said it once, I said it twice, I'm going to say it again, that this public inquiry is a good thing. It makes us all better. It informs us as to what is out there and what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so I invite that. If anybody would like to discuss more, of course, there's that avenue of the Public Records Request Act. But additionally, we got a phone number at the Sheriff's Office as well. And I'd be happy to address anything that I can.
All right, great. We're going to open up to public comment. I think there's going to be some more questions into the specifics. So I believe we have only one public comment, Mary? Okay.
Okay, so the person's name is Thomas Hammock.
Good morning, members of the board. Tom Hammock, District 4. I've come back to this board and I want to state my message now in the plainest terms I can. In the question of law and of liability, and the liability is the county's. Automated license plate reader provisions of civil code enacted by SB 34 do not merely permit this program. It imposes conditions on it. The county must adopt, implement a usage and privacy policy. It must keep a record of who accesses the data and for what purpose. It must train the people who use it. It must audit that use. These are not best practices. They are statutory requirements, and the legislature attached a private right of action to them. A person harmed by violation may sue. Now hold that against your county council certifications. This county has certified in writing that it holds no train records, audit records, compliance reviews, or interagency sharing agreements. And in the majority of the system's own search entries, the reason field, the record that statute requires, was left blank. Sit with what that means in a courtroom. When a resident brings an action under this statute, the records that would prove the county's compliance are the county's defense. Your county council has already certified those records do not exist. The county has, in effect, certified the emptiness of its own defense file before a single plaintiff walks in. This is not theoretical. The same vendor is being sued right now under the same statute on a theory of $2,500 per violation across more than 1 million violations. Every search this system runs without a required record is not a paperwork gap. It is a unit of exposure that accrues in the county's name. It cannot be handed off. Your own agreement with Flock places that compliance duty on the county, not the vendor. Supervisor Bradford has confirmed the county controls access to this network. The duty is yours. The exposure is yours. The vendor handles that is not an answer available to this board. So I'm placing this board on notice. You've now been told on the record that the compliance records California law requires do not exist. I want to be precise about the remedy because I do not want to be misheard. I am not asking for a better drop-down, a revised policy, or an audit that begins next quarter. Those are repairs, and this is past repair. The surveillance program that has run this long without the records the law requires is not a system waiting for the right fix. It is a system this county should not be operating. The missing records, the empty defense file, the exposure that grows with every search, those are not a punch list. These are reasons to end the program. The violations already are on the record, do not disappear because someone promises to do better, and I intend to place them before the California Attorney General. Whether they also become knowing ongoing violations is a choice this board makes. You've been told the records don't exist. If you keep the system running anyway, the county is no longer out of compliance by oversight. It is out of compliance by choice. The clean answer, the one that ends the liability instead of compounding it, is to turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. County Council, do we have a requirement that we have not fulfilled as far as some sort of policy or other activity?
As a reminder for your board, if you receive any public comment on the special presentation item, you are not required to respond or engage in any discussion or answer questions. You're simply receiving the public comment.
Through the chair. I know it's not required, but it's a question I was going to ask anyway after the run through with these guys. Was that, are we meeting all our compliance standards that we're obligated to comply with? That was the other part of that question when we were talking about the records that had changed or had allegedly changed. Are we meeting the compliance standards for training and a policy in place to manage access to the system, things of that nature?
Yes, and we are also working to enhance that, enhance the training that's provided, enhance the accountability through the public portal, and enhance our audit system. So some of which has been improved upon, absolutely. But as a baseline, we are in compliance with SB 34, with the rules of the road as it pertains to ALPR systems and our usage of that system.
I think my question is that if law enforcement is doing their part, but the claim, and maybe I misunderstood it, is that the county had a part that it had to fulfill at the county level, at county council level. And so my question was, is county council have whatever requirements, or no, all responsibility is at the sheriff's level and none of it is at the county level? Because what I heard, or maybe I misunderstood, was that the county had a responsibility at its level.
The SB 34 contains certain requirements, and the sheriff is in compliance. Mr. Hammock makes misstatements of the law. Regarding county council, we have received his Public Records Act requests, and we've responded to all of them except for one currently pending that is still within the time period, and we're working on that response. The sheriff's office is required under SB 34 to do certain things, maintain reasonable security procedures and practices, that the sheriff's presentation adequately covered, that those things are being done, implement a privacy policy in writing available to the public on their website that meets the requirements in the code. I've reviewed that policy. It meets all of the code requirements. The misstatement of the law is about which certain records have to be made available to the public. The law requires that the privacy policy contain a training requirement There is nothing in there stating that these records have to be made available to the public. There's nothing in that stating the records have to be maintained. If the sheriff is doing training, but there is not a record available to provide in a Public Records Act request, then we let the member of the public know we do not have that record. And that is exactly what we did with Mr. Hammock's request.
Okay, and so there's no additional policies at the board level or the county level outside of the sheriff that we need to have. All of the requirements, responsibilities are being fulfilled at the sheriff's level, and there's no extra policies we need other than the sheriff's level.
I'm not aware of any legal requirement for the board to have another policy. The policy requirement in SB 34 is for the privacy policy, and the sheriff went over that as policy 433. It's available on the website. And the other requirement in SB 34, which was fulfilled long ago, was the requirement for the public input before they started using the flock system. They did that.
Okay, thank you. And then I had one other question. One of the slides, I think, had to do with statistics. And so there was like 200,000 or 20,000 frames captured, and then 2,000 of them were actual hits, where they were in the system as once. Out of those 2,000 hits, assumedly there wasn't 2,000 arrests or 2,000 actions taken. So I was just trying to understand the process. With that many hits, what is that reflecting? Can we pull up that particular slide, Tim, or no?
Yeah, I don't know that we were at 2,000. I think there was one that said 200 searches, but yeah, let's get to it, and hopefully I can help you out with it. What do I do? Oh. Maybe this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Number of hotlist hits. You are correct, sir. 2,400.
That seems like a lot.
It sure does. Bear in mind this. In addition to vehicles getting stolen, oftentimes license plates get stolen as well. So bad actors will take a license plate that is registered off of a vehicle and place it on their own, either to hide their identity or to prevent getting caught for driving without a registered vehicle. Generally, these bad actors take one license plate from said car and they put it on their car. While that license plate is still actively listed in the stolen vehicle system as being a stolen plate, the remaining plate on a perfectly normal victim's vehicle is still on that car, which could very much result, and does, resulting in these hits of that plate returning to a stolen plate. Now imagine if somebody is frequenting an area where there are multiple of these cameras located, we're going to be continuously receiving those particular hits. And I believe that that illustrates the importance of the human verification of any of the information that we get off of Flock. That will drastically elevate the number of hits that are occurring within our system for that very reason.
So you would say 90% of the hits are?
I couldn't tell you 90%. I would say a very vast number of those hits could potentially be that circumstance that I listed as a different stolen plate.
Okay, so this is only for a 30-day window, if I understood it correctly, the search. So in that 30 days, there was 2,400 hits. When there's a hit, they then immediately call out to the patrol car, say, hey, 5 blocks away, you have a hit, go check it out. And so that happened 2,400 times, and then 2,000 of those times it was, oh, it's an innocent car.
No, the information comes into dispatch. They receive that hit. If they are very skilled dispatcher staff, notice that that is a front plate of a stolen vehicle, a stolen plate, there is no deputy dispatch to that area. That is logged through the system and on to the next.
Okay. Just seems like
It'd be an incredible waste of time.
Right. And so we live in an information society, right, where we have too much information and sorting through the information is difficult. But it creates a situation where a lot of people are being tagged in the system that aren't, in fact, wanted. And so then the list of people who have that prospect of being in if it wasn't an incredibly skilled dispatcher, situation that could be easily escalate, would be the wrong people. So that would be
Well,
where
to
the concern is.
respectfully correct you, there is no person being tagged in any system.
The
that
vehicle.
is. The vehicle and the plate is, yes.
And the people
if
in the
it comes
vehicle.
back as a stolen plate, and that plate is then viewed on the original victim's vehicle, we have procedures in place where we are not going to waste the resources of our department and/or the service to the community in dispatching deputies out to pursue that.
All right. Well, thank you. Any other questions?
Through the chair, thank you for the presentation.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's really important to get these details out to the public, and so I really appreciate that. Also appreciate, Mr. Hammock's questions and the process improvements that have occurred as a result. One thing that I did have a follow-up on, based on Mr. Hammock's comment and your comment previously about I think it was the reason or the description field that was not showing in the public portal has since been addressed. If I heard you correctly during your presentation, that data was there, it just was not visible to the public.
That is correct.
And that's been
All
corrected.
the information was captured, is within our system and is auditable and searchable. However, it was not through ones and zeros converting over to the public transparency portal.
So assuming that that is a requirement of SB 34, based on what you described, it sounds like we were meeting that requirement and that would be auditable.
Yes, sir.
Back even before the date that it was showing in the portal.
That is correct.
Okay.
Tom, you had a public comment? Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. I didn't realize we had this presentation today, but they do. I have been seeing a lot of the social media, and quite frankly, I agree with Supervisor Rannick. I think a lot of it is just a bunch of hysteria being propagated by people who like to stir up things that don't need to be stirred up. But where is the data stored? How long is the data kept? When will the data be downloaded and servers wiped clean? Thank you.
I'd like to remind your board, you're not required to entertain questions from the public or answer those questions. This is a public comment period, and the Brown Act requires you receive the public comment, and that is all.
Thank you, County Council. I think that we'd already covered some of that already, though, so if we can just reiterate, if that answers the question.
Can, what would be best? I don't want to mention ones and zeros in computers. I don't want to speak to something that I'm not exactly knowledgeable on. I think that can serve to further perpetuate some of the myths that are out there. If you want to get with me afterwards, if you'd like to provide those in writing, then let's get that addressed and get.
Do we still have the flock technician on?
I was going to
line?
suggest that we do have a flock person online.
There we go.
So,
We do not. Okay.
oh,
So the 30-day window that we talked about before, things are not searchable after the 30 days?
Things are not searchable for the information on a criminal investigation beyond those 30 days. So a crime's committed 40 days ago. I just now get reported. I want to see if a car's in the area. There's no way for me to do that.
Okay.
However, the fact that a search was completed on that same crime 40 days ago is retained, is auditable, and confirmed through our agency, through the block system.
so the information's not there, just the fact that we have a search that was done. We just don't know what it was done for. Maybe it was looking for stolen balloons or something of that nature.
They entered in what the reason was, so it was larceny, this is the suspect. So whatever that was in that little
Right.
drop-down windows, that's what's kept, but not the actual video clips.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think that ends that presentation then. Mary, public communication?
Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. Please note, no board action can be taken on comments made under this heading. And through the chair, we have just one card and no one through Zoom. And the first person we have is Tony Farley.
So Farley over the bridge, like any basket says. Thank you for your service, Yuba County, both Yuba County Sheriff Department, Yuba County Probation, Yuba County HR. And don't forget, thank you for your service, Rachel. Rachel. Thank you for your service, Rachel. And thank you for service, Kay Gisson. Kay Gisson says flat cameras were a game changer. Kay Gisson. Sheriff. Kay Gisson on Lincoln says flat cameras are a game changer. That's a quote by Katie Gisson. And thank you Tom Porter for his service for the Public Institutions Committee. Thank you Jeremy for his service. Thank you HR. Thank you Jennifer from HSS. Thank you probation officer, probation, Jim, and the day code enforcement, building department. And they get dispatcher, manager over there, manager. It's you, Rachel, Rachel Media, and thank you, and thank you, future supervisor / fire chief, and thank you, Annie Vasquez for his service. I'll be saying happy retirement and good service time, and thank you, Supervisor House for his service. Thank you, Gray Bradford, the Sacramentan by heart for his service. Sacramento, Gray Bradford. Thank you, John Miss, the super stallion Italian horse. Thank you, the Major's graduate, Seth Fuller, the tax finance lawyer, my own personal lawyer. Thank you, Janet Bender, another lawyer, Janet Bender, and George. Thank you, Chief Saxon, county administrator. And thank you, Mary, like Marysville, for her service. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Tony. All right, we will now speak on the two items that were pulled earlier. If YARC wants to start, and then we'll move on to Public Works.
So that is agenda item 393-2026, County Administrator, approved contract with Yuba Applied Research Center, YARC, to provide economic development and grant services to Yuba County and authorize chair to execute.
Yes, good morning, Chair, members of the board. Is that loud enough? Can you hear me okay? All right, Kevin Mallon, County Administrator. So the item before you today, I just want to give maybe the board a little bit more context or insight here that maybe wasn't in the staff report and in the attached professional services agreement. The county, as the board's aware, is kicked off our general plan update. You know, the last general plan was adopted by the board in 2011. It's a time for us to kind of reflect on our long-range planning and what we want to accomplish, you know, as a county into the future here. And so kind of coupled with that, we also had kind of loss of staff within community development, specific in the economic development area. And the other kind of factor that played in that the board is well aware of is kind of change in dynamics at the Yuba Water Agency. So all of those factors kind of played into why this item is being presented to the board this morning. My office reached out to YARC and asked if they were available to provide services to the county to kind of help us with looking at our economic development long-range planning, coupled with the general plan update, supplementing our economic development staffing, and then also helping us pursue some grant opportunities. And so they graciously kind of accepted my invitation, put together a scope of work, which is before the board this morning. And I do have representatives here from YARC if the board would like to hear maybe some specifics on accomplishments they've had while under contract with the Water Agency previously and things they'd like to accomplish under contract with the county. The board like to hear from YARC?
Yeah, through the chair, I'd ask that we pull this item just because it doesn't really, to me, doesn't fall in the routine category because there's a couple of questions I have on it regarding the funding sources, the Yuba Water Agency. It's funds that were allocated before the penstock incident, but on one side of the house we are reducing our community impact and engagement grants, things like that. And on the other side, we're still maintaining some. So I think we should probably speak to what if this is an extension or if this is an initial contract, which sounds like it's an initial contract, and then what services specifically they're going to perform. It's listed pretty vaguely in a wide scope inside the agreement. So I just kind of would like to know what we're shooting for this year with this 150,000, and if this is just seed money to get a contract started, or if we're expecting there to be additional funds going into this, because a lot of times we'll create something and it'll be expected later on we're going to have some changes, or as we get into our planning that we'll have additional funding requirements. So just maybe if we can get an overview of what the scope is.
Sure, and I'll have YARC address more specifics on the scope, but as far as the funding, just so the board's aware, and we discussed this last week at the budget workshop, the county has a 3-year MOU in place with the Yuba Water Agency. This is the last year of the MOU. The MOU covers a variety of services that the county provides. One of those is focused on economic development, as well as we have law enforcement services, drainage services, et cetera. So we have, as I mentioned before, with our change in staffing within community development, we were able to kind of move some funds around that are provided by the water agency in this fiscal year to cover this contract amount. And so that's really where we're trying to enhance our service delivery this fiscal year. The contract is only for this fiscal year. The funding is tied to the MOU for this fiscal year. And with that, maybe I'll have the YARC folks come up and they can kind of talk a little bit about how the scope of work. You're right. We have several general categories, but maybe a little more specifics on what they're looking at accomplishing this year. You guys can use either lecturing or both.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisors. I'm Milan Hatamia, the CEO of the YARC. I'm joined today by Lenny Spiegel. Lenny is Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer of the YARC. First of all, let me thank you for your leadership in creating the YARC a number of years ago. I believe we have a set of meetings with all of you individually over the next few weeks to brief you on our past accomplishments, but also our plans for the next coming year. And I'm happy, as the CEO has just mentioned, to talk a bit about the scope of work. The scope of work that we have in mind for this year is to assist the county in developing and building upon the general plan, but also looking at a long-term strategic economic plan for the county. Much like the work that I accomplished 7 years ago with the Yuba Water Agency, but continuing that effort through the YARC. The YARC, as you're all well aware, is a nonprofit created for the development of applied research between academia, government, and business. But we're looking principally at the development of economic opportunities in Yuba County. So job creation, tax revenue generation. And we could speak to a couple of projects that we've had just this past year that speak about kind of the return on investment that has already been done and what we anticipate to do for this current year. One of the items that I wanted to mention that we're going to be working very closely with the county is looking at acquiring grant funding to develop a feasibility study for the greater use of the Yuba County Airport. We think that's an underutilized gem for the county. We're going to be focusing on DOW funding to do one initial feasibility analysis and work in conjunction with the needs of Beale Air Force Base and their changing mission set. They see the airport as a great asset that can be developed for their new CCA mission out at the base. This is one of the activities. We're also looking at other opportunities for excess land throughout the county. What can we develop that will bring new businesses and jobs to this county? That's really the creation of economic development, but it's a longer term strategy. I started this 7 years ago, and we're now seeing results of, I think, that plan that was developed then. We're going to continue to evolve that plan with your assistance, and as I think Kevin has mentioned, we're going to continue to focus on that. Let me turn to Lenny real quickly. I want him to highlight a couple of the projects that we have helped fund this past year. One, which is appropriately focused on the Sheriff's Department, and I'm glad that they're here today, maybe to speak to the benefits I think the YARC has brought to the county. Lenny?
Well, the supervisors, thank you for allowing us to present. And like all long-term strategies, you do want to have a return on investment, especially when you're looking at initial funding and what is that going to bring to your constituents and the residents of the county. So as Lon mentioned, there's two major projects that we are in the final stages of securing funding for. And when we look at return on investment, we're looking at it both from a monetary perspective and a non-monetary return on investment. The first is our assistance to the Yuba-Sutter Farm Bureau on a healthy soils grant that we were brought into under the guidance of under the guidance of Mr. Wayne Bishop. So he introduced us to some researchers out at Harvard University who are looking at soils from a perspective of biochar and how biochar could be used to reduce water requirements and also to improve the overall nutrient health of that soil. About a year ago, we brought those researchers out here and they started working directly with some of our FFA chapters to be able to teach those youngsters how to go out and do soil sampling. Where we're at right now on that project is we are in the final stages of working with the Yuba-Sutter Farm Bureau to secure a $4 million grant. Of that $4 million, approximately 3.2 of it would go directly to underserved farmers in the county, with the remaining 800,000 being aligned to administration and research activities. So if that money is secured, you would have a direct investment of $3.2 million to your county farmers. And then you would also have $800,000 that the Farm Bureau and the YARC can continue to use to bring in additional researchers and to continue that work to improve direct investment into the county. One of the secondary impacts of that type of research is those researchers at Harvard are actually developing businesses, and they are building the relationships with our local farmers that would incentivize them to bring those technologies and those new AI-enabled agriculture initiatives into the community. The second major project that we've been working on that has direct appropriated funding associated with it is through the Yuba County Sheriff's Office. And one of the projects that I'm very, very proud of is the partnership that we've built with Sheriff Anderson and his team, as he is looking at building out future technology applications to be able to protect and observe drone operations. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with the amount of attention that is being brought in the United States on drone warfare, drone for nefarious activities. Our applied research gives him the ability to look at emerging technologies and to make informed decisions as he's building out his plans for bringing those technologies into the county. So not only is this a way to have non-tangible benefits for his Part 107 operators to work with Beale Air Force Base and with other partner organizations to explore those technologies, it gives an applied research capability for us to make resource-informed decisions that would actually reduce money in the long term so they're not pursuing technologies that are not beneficial. Those are just two examples, and as Lon mentioned, we're happy to sit down with all of you in the future to continue to give you more detailed information on some of the other projects that we're working on. And I, again, welcome any questions.
Through the chair, where is your office based out of?
I'm sorry?
Where is the office based out of?
We are currently working at 628 D Street. We've been very fortunate that one of your former colleagues, Randy Fletcher, has donated his office for our use.
Oh, wow.
So it's been fantastic to have a location, and we're really utilizing that in a great way.
Well, the reason asking is that we need to separate from Sutter County as far as community development, business development. We don't have people over there that I think have our interest. We had a article in the paper today of housing builds. Nowhere in there was the fact that Yuba County's been the fastest growing per capita county in the state for the past 11 years. And you just kind of, we're the forgotten bunch. And I hope that by being in Yuba County, we'll have a better road to development. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying the scope and some of the actions you guys have taken. Appreciate that. When you look at the agreement, I think I get skewed because I know people personally. So you see the 4 different types of charges we have. We have hourly rate for Lon, hourly rate for Leonard, hourly rate for Jackie Silman, and hourly rate for Terry Daly. So those familiar names kind of, I want to know what we're going to be paying these folks to work on, and what kind of research is going to be going on. So thank you for giving me my answers. And thanks, Kevin, for the question on, I just really want to keep myself from speaking out of both sides of my mouth, telling people that we're not doing community engagement, we're not doing grant funding, but we're going to see some other things that go through. But knowing that it's pre-authorized money and it's timely, knowing that our economic development team is kind of small right now. So it's really good to have additional resources. So thank you, guys.
Does the board have any other further questions? Otherwise.
All right. Is there any public comment? All right.
I'd move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item we have is 402-2026, Community Development Services. Approve agreement with Mark Thomas for construction management services for the Olivehurst Roadway Climate Resiliency Project and authorize chair to execute.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Brian Michelson, Public Works. This project, the Olivehurst Roadway Climate Resiliency Project, is massive. We brought it 2 weeks ago to the board for approval to award or to advertise the project. It's probably the biggest project, I believe, that's been seen by the county. When we were planning for this, we took a look at what funding might be needed, what resources might be needed as well, and we determined that outside sources for construction management would be necessary because we have a very small staff. We have a lot of projects on the document in the pipeline currently, and in order to meet those needs, we need to bring in somebody from the outside. So this contract with Mark Thomas will cover construction management, project review, constructability review, certified payroll, closeout of the projects, also Caltrans audits. We've had two of those on other projects in the last 6 months. We've been very successful in dealing with those and working through that. Caltrans was very pleased with what we've done, and we'd like to continue that if audited. But these services that they would provide are necessary for this project. We did send out an RFP for these firms to propose. Mark Thomas was the one that was selected, and that's why we're here today, is to recommend that this contract be approved, this agreement.
Was this the lowest bid, or there was what was the choice that made this the correct bidder for us?
So the way the process works per California state law or contracting code is we must look at the qualifications they have first. We review those, and based upon that, we select a first and a second. Then after they're selected, we are able to enter negotiations after we've looked at the cost of their contract. We feel that the qualifications they have, products they've provided in the past to other agencies and ourselves, is superior in this case to what was provided on paper by the other consultants, and we did rank them as number one.
Okay. Do we have any any other board comment? Is there a public comment? No? All right. Mr. Vasquez, did you have some other comment?
I thought a young lady was going to speak.
Good morning. My name is Mary Salvato from Olivehurst, and I was here because this project was presented in 2023, and it was presented to end and be finished in 2027. And I called the Public Works Department to find out when it was going to start, and they said, well, we don't even know when it's going to start. And I'm like, well, this is not acceptable. You know, I mean, granted, I'm the only one from Olivehurst standing here, but Olivehurst has been overlooked for a very long time. And I would like to see this project go forward and get finished and it look like the rest of Olivehurst. Here's Olivehurst getting all built up with sidewalks, gutters, everything, and nice homes and housing all around it. But the main part of Olivehurst, which I happen to be lucky enough to live in, which is 1940 builds and up, and many have been torn down and rebuilt. There's a lot of new homes, a lot of things going on. There's new apartment buildings going on. I mean, I can't believe how much is going on in that old little section of Olivehurst. And it would be really great if we had sidewalks and gutters and it looked like the rest of the place. I really appreciate you bringing this forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. So I will move to accept this contract. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I think mine's next item, so you're good.
Oh, then we will move on to ordinances and public hearings and not make you sit down.
If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group. Agenda item number is 413-2026. Community Development and Services, public hearing, hold public hearing and adopt resolution confirming delinquent water and sewer charges for River Highlands Community Services District and authorize collection on the Yuba County 2026-27 secured property tax roll.
Morning, Board of Supervisors, Brian Michelson, Public Works. I'm here today to ask the board to adopt the ordinance to place the delinquent water and sewer charges on the 26-27 tax roll for a property within Gold Village. Over the past 8 years, we've been working with this owner to try to collect the payments. Unfortunately, the payments were inconsistent for most of that time. During that time, we offered a payment plan, which was not accepted by the homeowner. And in 2021, the homeowner stopped paying their water and sewer bills. In 2025, after not being able to deal with this at the staff level, we brought an ordinance to the board, which allowed us some additional tools to try to deal with this. One of those was placing a lien on the property. The second was a water shut off. So later in 2025, after the ordinance was adopted, we put a lien on the property in the order of $43,907.31, which accounted for the delinquent payments to that time. That was unsuccessful in resolving the issue. We also turned off their water, which has also proven unsuccessful. At this time, we would like to ask the board, as I mentioned, to place this amount of the past due fees on their 26-27 tax roll, currently in the amount of $52,491.07.
So we turned off their water. Do they have their own well? Is that why that is irrelevant, or?
I do not know how they're getting their water. I'm uncertain as to how they're getting their water.
Okay, is someone living in the property?
They are, to the best of our knowledge, yes.
So we have a person living in the property and we turned off the water to them and they were like, okay, cool. Any other questions? Is there any public comment on this subject? Yes, sir. Okay, come on up and tell us what's up.
I believe you opened the public hearing. I'm just checking.
I am opening the public hearing.
Just want to get a continuance today or something and get some sort of itemized audit going on. I'm not disputing, well, I haven't had a job either. I only have like $180 a month coming in. So that's why, the bills are, and it's a $311 a month base pay just for the water. I mean, I just didn't know that when I got there,
How are you providing water for yourself, sir?
Well, buying bottled water.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the 5 dogs too. So.
So you
The
just
water
buy,
shut off thing, and I have a medical notice saying not to turn the water off, but that didn't matter.
okay, so you just buy jugs of water.
I don't have a choice.
Okay.
There's no water. And I never had to deal with that before, so I don't know what to do. Other
All
than
right.
buy the water.
Have you considered selling
What's that?
the house?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay.
But with the 53,000 and then some other debts that I have, I'll be homeless when I sell it. Even though I own it, once everything's paid off, I'm just going to be homeless, I guess, which kind of sucks.
What would you think the audit, if assuming, what could possibly happen that would be positive if we did do an audit and we delayed it? What good could that come out of that?
I think it could be pretty significant, just from what I found. And I don't have all the monthly bills. I have most of them, like 43 of them or something like that. But I did lose a couple along the way because I had other issues. I tried to get roommates at one point, and they just turned into squatters, and then they got a restraining order against me, and then I couldn't even go home. So that was a big mess. But anyway, there's just some discrepancies, and there's the bill is really hard to understand. I don't necessarily want to bore you guys with reading all this.
Yeah, but you feel that there is
I have
actual
a paper that I can give you guys after or something.
But there is actual detailed financial discrepancies that you feel that would reduce the number.
Yeah,
And so the question I have is, if it did reduce it by half, would that fix the problem? Because it's still not, sounds like it's going to be payable.
Well, that's a lot of money to come up with,
Right.
when you're not working. I don't want a job. I want a job real bad. I can't find one up here. Weird. But there's like, gallons of waters. It's not described, like it's like 44,000 gallons of water I'm going through a month that's stated on here. I'm in tier 5, and maybe there's a leak somewhere, but I never saw any water. There's nothing. I mean, 44,000 gallons of water, you'd think I would have a sinkhole and just disappear.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, Brian?
So the leak concern was brought to our attention in the past.
Mhm.
We have been up there. We have reviewed it. We have not found any leaks on the
Okay.
county side.
Is he misreading the bill and the 44,000 referred to like the entire
That's just one
community,
month.
or was that just his home that
One
was
month.
using 44,000?
That I can't speak to. I don't know. I haven't seen that bill.
Okay. Is there some, I mean, we're just brainstorming here. Is there some resolution that would be, that could help the situation? Or is going to be reviewing the bills going to be helpful, or?
With the magnitude of it, I don't believe so, but that's only my own personal speculation.
Sure. CAO, did we have any other ideas for what we could possibly do here?
No. So I was going to say, just as a reminder to the board, this is the water and sewer system, they're owned by the River Highlands Community Services District. The county has been providing services for that district since it's gone defunct for over, actually, I think we're coming up on 15 years, Mike. I'm trying to think of it. Or Kevin, yeah, or longer. And so anyways, it ultimately you have this small little district. It's not trying to make a profit here, right? We're just trying to break even on the cost to provide water and sewer services. The rates actually that we're referring to have been in effect for quite a few years as well. And the district is in a situation where if the board decided to waive any part of what the gentleman is asking you to waive or reduce, that's definitely a direct fiscal impact back on that district. I do trust that the accounting is accurate. Otherwise, Mr. Michelson wouldn't be before the board today asking for that amount to be placed on the tax roll. But that, I guess that's my 2 cents, is that my recommendation would be to move forward as requested by staff so that we can seek resolution of the financial issue here, because 52 and change that's owed to this district is a lot of money for them to not have available to operate their district, or that
Right, 52,000 isn't going to be received from them tomorrow, though, obviously. And so it would just get added to the rolls, and there's still 5 years out from that before they would actually see the 52,000. So we're not going to fix the water district at this hearing with this decision. Yes, sir.
The, so there's just discrepancies like between some of the charges and like, even the fact sheet, like the 2025, I think, fact sheet. The printed description rate and the arithmetic, that they don't match. The charges total like 153.75 and 1,588.7 plus 153.75 equals 1,741.82 in commodity charges. That deserves an explanation from Yuba, I think, and these aren't in gallons. The bill says 5,970.17 units, and the fact sheet describes the measurement in cubic feet. So 5,970.17 units are cubic feet. That's approximately 44,660 gallons that I went through 1 month.
Through the chair.
I mean,
I think it'd be worth the time and effort to give him the audit on those prices, because I don't think your 5 dogs are drinking that much water. So
no.
I think that
Okay.
we need to straighten this out. I mean, you're unemployed.
And that's just 1 month.
Cool. All right.
That's not going to help.
So if we have another person who's willing to delay this until we can have a meeting where you can explain the bill in detail for him. My concern is that even after the explanation, it still might be a really ugly situation for you. And so I don't
disputing like, the months that I can't pay the bill or whatever, the monthly bill. I am just disputing this, I think, water leak issue that went on for years and then why wasn't I shut off, like per their policy, like after like 60 or 90 days?
Well, we don't like to shut water off on people because then that makes their life harder.
Well, I know, but now I'm at $53,000.
Right. So I mean, it's hard either way, but I mean, that would be why
they could have been shut off in like 2021, 2022.
Right. But if we shut off your water, then technically you're probably not in a habitable home, and then you get evicted and then you're homeless, which we want to avoid, right? Right, but it's not habitable because you don't have water and sewer to it, right? I mean, I don't understand. Am I incorrect about how code enforcement
I've
stuff works?
survived for a year without water.
Do the chair.
I mean, it's a pain in the ass. Don't get me wrong.
I think we should
destroyed my
look at this.
relationship.
It deserves.
Okay.
There's no rush on it.
All right. Is it okay with the board then?
Well, second.
Great.
Let's bring this back at a future meeting if we need to. If it can't be resolved.
With that, in 2021 and making me leave.
All right.
Because then I wouldn't be so far down in the
All right.
debt.
Well, we're going to table it right now so that you can have your meeting with them to go over the details of the bill. But it sounds like we need to get some more creative solution problem solving for the larger issues that are at place here. I think I have the auditor controller behind you that would like to speak. So if you would let him come up, and he's going to make a short statement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard Eberly, Auditor Controller. I'd be happy to assist in doing an audit or a review of the transaction so that I can make sure that validate the numbers that CDSA is producing is
At no cost to the landowner.
I think in my function as the Auditor Controller, maybe something I could probably
Thank you.
make sure that happens.
Could I request through the chair that this hearing just be continued?
Excellent.
Okay.
And continued to the next board meeting. I believe all of the data is available. This shouldn't take very long for us to be able to get this addressed, and we can come back to the board at the next board meeting.
So the final determination is we are going to continue this to our next board meeting, and I am closing the public hearing. I'm not closing the public hearing.
You would keep the public hearing open, and then I believe we need a motion and a vote to continue.
I made a motion to
Second.
table this.
Second, continuing to the next meeting.
To continue.
Continue to the next
meeting.
So Andy Vasquez made a motion to continue.
Yes.
Correct? Thank you. Rennick second. All in favor? Aye. None opposed? Thank you.
Through the chair, if I could, we do have a hand on Zoom. I believe this person is just labeled as calling user number 1. He had his hand up on agenda item 402, lowered it, and has it back up. I'm not sure if you want to go ahead and take his comment.
Yeah, let's go ahead and find out what he needs.
Okay. You. So call in user number 1. If you could please state your name when you get unmuted.
My name is Gord Orbison, and I think people need to learn to pay their water bill. This is bullcrap. We should not be allowing people to be delinquent. That's what niggers do. Heil mein Führer.
Thank you for your comments, sir. All right, so we will then move on to correspondence.
Okay, so correspondence, the board may direct any item of informational correspondence to a department head for appropriate action. We have 3 agenda items, 403-2026. It's a notice from the California Board of State and Community Corrections regarding the corrective action plan verification of compliance pursuant to Welfare and Institution Code, Section 209D of the Yuba County Juvenile Facilities. 404-2026, 2 notices from the California Fish and Game Commission regarding upcoming meetings on August 12 through 13, and a notice of proposed changes in regulations. 426-2026, a letter from the California Wildlife Conservation Board regarding proposed land acquisitions of wildlife habitat located in Yuba County.
Thank you. And we will move on then to board and staff member reports. Mr. Vasquez. Renick?
Just want to say we had a pretty great budget session last week. Thank everybody for moving that back a week on my behalf, because this week is the start of students showing up at school. So thank you guys for that, and all the staff that had time put in to make sure we knew what they were doing with the county funds, and so we can go in confidently and approve a budget coming up. And just wanted to say thank you again to the sheriff for continuing to educate us on the fact that Yuba County uses tools the right way, and that we're watching to make sure that the tools aren't getting used incorrectly. So thank you guys.
So a couple items. First of all, 6 p.m. this Thursday evening here at the Government Center, the California State Parks is holding a public workshop about the proposed Feather River Park, where the public can come and hear from the state and also provide input. And also 3:30 to 9 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon to 9 p.m. on Saturday is the largest event of the year in Plumas Lake, the Plumas Lake Block Party. There's a beer garden, a DJ, a kids area, lots of vendors. It's just a great time, and I'll be out there pouring beer from 3:30 to 6:30. So come out and support the vendors and buy a beer and support South Yuba County Rotary. So.
Thank you. Mr. Messick.
Mountain Fair's coming up. The Mountain Fair's coming up in Brownsville, the 21st and 22nd. So hope you can all make it up there to support. That's it.
County Council?
Thank you.
CAO, Mary?
Nothing, thank you.
All right, we will then recess to closed session.
Your first time.
Listen and watch. You can support or sponsor. Help keep the community aware with Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.